G'day legends, I hope you're all amazing. We're going to be checking out the new line of effects pedals from Citadel Electronics today. Citadel is a new company, but it's been started by some of the most experienced and respected engineers and designers in the guitar industry. We'll talk about that more in another video though. I just want to dive straight into these because I think the tones and the features really speak for themselves. Let's go. Citadel have launched with 7 pedals. We're going to take a look at the 6 that I think work fantastic on guitar. They also make the Plutonium bass overdrive. For bass players, if we go from left to right, there's the Dynazero, which is a sidechain gate. Really easy to use. There's just a threshold control and a hard or a soft switch. You can place this in your amp's effect loop, or you can place it post distortion. The send and return on it are totally galvanically isolated, so it's not going to add any noise or ground hum. It's just going to kill noise from your rig while keeping your guitar dynamics intact. There's the particle drive, which is a high gain overdrive. There's a 3-way voicing switch and a built-in gate. The Overtuber is a real tube overdrive with a separate foot switchable boost. The Vector is an Octave fuzz with a dedicated octave control. The Planetary phase is a phaser with a basic rate and depth control and a phase offset and resonance control. What's really cool about this one is you can set up the foot switch to either be latching or momentary. And then there's the bus driver, which is based on the legendary SSL bus comp. This one has some really advanced features. We're just going to take a look at how all of these work together, starting with the Dynazero Gate, and let's have a listen. The classic mode is very mid-forward and plexi-like. The balance mode on there sounds like a modern high-gain amp to me, whether it's kind of 5150 or JVM style on there. And then the modern mode just kind of sounds like you've put a boost in front of that classic mode on there. So it's like having that modern high-gain amp in the front with a tube screamer or something like that. Very amp-like, really satisfying to play. The built-in gate, I think, is a fantastic addition on there, and it plays really, really nice with some of the other pedals, as we're about to hear. I also love that across all of these pedals, there are little switches on the side which let you control the startup state. So let's say you're using this as your always on overdrive or distortion. When you turn your pedal board on, you kind of want that to just start up because you're always going to have it on. So you can set that with a switch so that when you power it up, it just turns on automatically. You don't have to think about turning it on. Something like the Overtuber or the phaser, though, you might just want to use occasionally. So in that case, you might want to have it power up bypass. The phaser also has the ability to set it up in momentary mode, which I really like if you just want to set it for like a crazy stun style effect and step on it momentarily. I've got it set up in latching mode because I want to put it on and basically probably play with it on a lot. All right, let's move along now, and we'll hear that clean sound again as a reference, but we'll have a listen to the Overtuber on here. This one has a built-in boost. You've got these two ways to set up the drive on here. You've got a classic gain control, but then you've got the excellently named girth. You've also got a body, tone, and level control on here. These are very interactive, and depending on the guitar that you're playing and the amp you're running it into, you're going to be able to get a lot of different tones out of it. I'm going to start off in the tapped mode over here so you can hear that clean sound again. I've got the tone up, the body at noon, the girth I'll actually start all the way down, and we'll really have a listen to what that does. Thick with two C's on there. Definitely does the tube driver style thing on there. I like having the built-in boost, and again, I love having the ability to have this set up so that it can power up either boosted or unboosted, bypassed or unbypassed on there. Let's hear the octave fuzz now, because this one, I love that it's got a separate octave control. I mean, I can start with that all the way down. There's also this wear control over here. So as I turn that up, it's gonna sound a bit crappier and like more lo-fi, but we'll start with it at a minimum. That's chaotic. I love it stacked into either of these drives over here as well. That sounds pretty awesome. Into a crunchy amp as well, as you can imagine. All right, I'm going to go back to single coil mode on here. And we're going to hear the Planetary phaser and the bus driver together. I'm actually going to start out with the bus driver because this can do some very subtle things. It can also be used as like an enhancer and boost as well. I love that if you press these two buttons here, you can turn on auto release. I'm going to roll with that for now. I'm going to do an in-depth video with this one because it's one of my favorite compressor pedals that I've ever tried. We'll start with the attack quite low and the compression and makeup gain, you know, somewhere in that noon to 11 o'clock range on there. This button here selects between the different ratios. You've got 3 different settings, so we'll start at the minimum. And there's also a sidechain high-pass filter built in, a very advanced studio-style control on there. We might talk about that if we get to it. I'm just going to leave it flat at the moment, but I'll save that maybe for the deep dive where we talk about compression. And then the phaser, as you would imagine, has rate and depth on there. You've also got an offset on there for the LFO phase, and then a resonance control, which is going to add feedback on there. So you can get a bunch of different tones out of that one. But let's just have a listen to what the bus driver can do to beef up this kind of slinky tapped neck pickup. Then we'll kick in the phaser for some fun. My personal preference with phasers is normally to have them a little bit more subtle, but I do like that no quarter style crazy wobbly phaser as well. And that covers the range on there. You can probably just set and forget the offset and the resonance and use the speed and depth to taste, or you can really get in there and get granular with it and dial in your perfect phaser sound. I also love that you've got the option to have this as a momentary foot switch. All right, we heard it into the vector. Let's hear it into the particle drive. I'm just on the balance setting. These all sound fantastic. They're really well put together and they're really thoughtfully laid out as well. You've got a nice combination and compromise between control and ease of use and simplicity. I mean, the gate can't get much easier to use. Turn it on, twist the threshold until it gets there and it kills noise. The particle drive sort of looks like a bog standard distortion pedal on the surface, but the 3 modes and the amp-like tone could probably make this your main drive. I absolutely love the Overtuber. When I think of a tube driver, I think of that massive, fat Eric Johnson, David Gilmour thing. And having played a few real tube drivers, sometimes they don't do that. Sometimes they do and they're perfect, but this one sits right in that perfect range. I love Octave Fuzz, so the Vector is super fun on there. I like having the separate control over the Octave and the Fuzz. The wear control is really nice if you want to do more of a lo-fi thing on there. The Planetary phase sounds amazing. I really like having the option of latching or momentary foot switching on there. Say if you set it up with that really crazy swirly sound on there and you just press on it. Every now and then you can do the momentary thing. And the bus driver, I mean, we didn't really touch on it that much in this video, but I've got a standalone video with that one that you can check out going in depth. I think it's one of the best compressor pedals on the market at the moment, if not ever. You can use it for super subtle enhancement on there, or you can use it to absolutely squish your guitar sound and fatten and embiggen any tone up on there. So let me know your thoughts about these pedals in the comment section below. Let me know what you'd like me to do standalone videos with. And a massive thank you to Citadel Electronics for getting these out to me. I'll put a link to the website. These should be available in Europe very soon, if not immediately. If you were at Guitar Summit recently, you probably would have seen and heard some of them, but massive amounts of fun. That compressor and the phaser and probably the Overtuber are going right on my board. They're going to stay there. I love the way that they sound. The Dynazero, I think I'm just going to sit up here with some of my amps that well, this Marshall doesn't have an effects loop, but if I use it with a load box, I could use this in conjunction with the load box to cut out any excess hiss on there. So easy to use. I absolutely love that. And it's still keeping the guitar tone intact on there. So much good stuff with this. I'm really looking forward to what they come out with next. I'd love to see them take on a chorus pedal, maybe with like tri-chorus and dimension sounds, or a stereo delay pedal in this format. If they can nail these, I'm sure they can nail some of those kind of more time-based effects out there. So let me know what you'd like to hear next. Let me know what you'd like to see from this company in the future. And until next time, have a fantastic day. I'll see you all on the next one.